Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into something kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about comedy,
Right.
but more specifically, we're going to be talking about originality in comedy,
Okay.
and how that kind of plays out when we're looking at international adaptations.
I see.
So to kind of set the stage for this deep dive, we've got this opinion piece that we're going to be taking a look at.
All right.
And it's basically making the argument that this Indian comedy show is just a complete ripoff of the American show Kill Tony.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a really interesting deep dive because it touches on that question
Yeah.
of, like, where is the line,
Right.
between creative inspiration
Yeah.
and just straight up copying,
Sure.
especially in this globalized entertainment world that we live in these days.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm actually really curious to hear what this opinion piece has to say.
Yeah, well, let's jump right into it.
Okay.
So basically, right off the bat, the author of this piece is coming out swinging.
All right.
They're saying that this Indian comedy show is nothing more than a copycat of Kill Tony.
Wow. So they're not pulling any punches.
No, they are not.
All right. Well, for those of us who haven't seen Kill Tony, can you give us a little bit of a rundown about what the show is all about?
Sure, yeah,
Like, what are the key elements? What's the format?
absolutely. So Kill Tony is this, I guess you could call it like an open mic night kind of a thing,
Right.
but it's also a roast battle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All in one. So basically, you have all of these comedians who sign up,
Mm-hmm.
and they each get like 1 minute
Okay.
to do their stand-up routine
Right.
in front of a live audience
Makes sense.
and a panel of roasters,
Got it.
including the host, Tony Hinchcliffe.
Right.
And what's really interesting about the show is that you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, like who are these comedians? Are they professionals? Are they amateurs?
Exactly. Yeah. You have complete newbies who have maybe never performed stand-up before in their lives.
Wow.
All the way up to like seasoned professionals who have been doing this for years.
Interesting.
So it's really unpredictable.
Yeah.
And Tony and the other roasters, they don't hold back.
Okay.
They are brutal.
So it's like a trial by fire for these comedians?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. So then how does the Indian show that this opinion piece is talking about tie into all of this?
Right. So the opinion piece is basically saying that the Indian show is just lifting that entire format.
Wow, the whole thing.
Yeah, pretty much they're saying it's got the same basic setup with the comedians doing their 1-minute sets,
Uh-huh.
the panel of roasters, the unpredictable nature of it all.
Okay, so it sounds like they're saying it's a pretty blatant copy.
Yeah, that's definitely the vibe I'm getting from this piece.
Wow. All right. Well, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and it actually goes even deeper than that because the author of this piece,
Yeah.
they're saying that this isn't just an isolated incident.
Okay.
They're claiming that this is part of a larger trend.
Oh, really?
In Indian entertainment, where they're just copying American works,
Huh.
they even go on to list a bunch of other examples like Indian movies and songs that they say are clearly inspired by American originals.
Okay, so they're painting a pretty broad picture here.
They are. So I guess the question is, how much of this is actually true? Like, is Indian entertainment really just riding on the coattails of American creativity?
Right.
Or is there more to it than that?
Well, I think it's definitely more nuanced than that. I mean,
Okay.
India has this massive, incredibly diverse entertainment industry.
Right.
And to say that they're just copying everything from America, I think that's a vast oversimplification.
Okay.
And I think globally, it's actually pretty common for different countries to borrow formats from each other.
Yeah, you see that a lot with reality TV.
Exactly. Yeah, you have the same basic structures that get recreated in different countries,
Right.
but they add their own unique local twists.
Yeah, I guess it's like saying every singing competition show is a copy of American Idol.
Yeah, exactly.
Or every dating show is just a ripoff of The Bachelor.
Yeah, so there's definitely a distinction to be made there.
Right. Okay, so maybe it's not so much about the format itself,
Yeah.
like having a panel of roasters or whatever,
Right.
but more about the execution.
Uh-huh.
Like, how are they actually doing it?
Yeah.
Because just having a similar setup doesn't automatically make it a copy, right?
Yes, that's the big question here.
Yeah.
Like, this source keeps saying the word copying, but what does that actually mean? Like, are we talking about a scene-for-scene recreation?
Yep.
Or are there major differences in the humor, the host's personality, the types of cultural references they're using?
Yep.
We need to look at those specifics before we can make any judgments.
Well, that makes me think about how different cultures find different things funny,
Yeah.
right? Like, what might crack up an American audience could totally bomb in India.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Comedic sensibilities, social norms, even what's considered offensive can vary so much from one culture to the next.
Right.
So even if the format is similar, the Indian show probably had to adapt it quite a bit to make it work for their local audience.
Right. Yeah, it's like how some American sitcoms just don't translate well when they try to adapt them for other countries.
Exactly.
Like, the humor gets lost in translation.
Yep, so it's not a simple equation
No, it's not.
of just taking something and plopping it down somewhere else.
Right.
There's a lot more that goes into it.
It kind of makes you wonder, though, is anything truly original?
That's a great question.
I mean, even Shakespeare was drawing inspiration from older stories and myths.
Yeah.
So where do we draw the line between paying homage and just ripping something off?
Yeah, that is the age-old question, isn't it?
It is. Do you have any, like, famous examples that come to mind?
Oh, tons. Like, think about music sampling, film, remakes. Even classic literature, it's all a spectrum.
Yeah.
And I think the real question is, does the new work add something new to the conversation?
Okay.
Or is it just a lazy imitation?
Right.
Like, take The Lion King, for example.
Okay.
It's heavily inspired by Shakespeare's Hamlet.
Yeah.
But it brings its own unique elements to the table, like the incredible music and the whole African savanna setting.
Right. They made it their own.
Exactly.
Okay, so going back to this opinion piece.
Yeah.
I feel like they're not just, like, analyzing this Indian comedy show. You know, it's like they're really going after it.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
It's almost like a roast battle in itself.
Yeah.
What do you make of that tone?
I think it shows how passionate people can be about their entertainment.
Okay.
Like, maybe there's a sense of wanting to protect American comedy.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're just disappointed by what they see as a lack of originality.
Right.
It's interesting how strongly people feel about these things.
Yeah, it is.
And I think it speaks to a larger conversation about cultural influence and exchange.
Right.
And how we navigate those things in a globalized world.
Okay, so zooming out a bit here.
Yeah.
We live in a world where ideas are constantly flowing across borders.
Right.
So is this kind of cross-pollination
Uh-huh.
just an inevitable part of the entertainment industry now?
It definitely seems to be a growing trend.
Yeah.
And it's not just entertainment either. It's everything: fashion, music, technology.
Yeah.
Trends travel the globe in an instant these days.
That's true. So I guess the question is, how do we balance that with the desire for originality?
That's a really good question, and I don't think there's an easy answer.
No, I don't think there is either.
It's something that we're all grappling with as we become more interconnected.
Yeah, okay, so to kind of wrap things up here, I think we've dug into some pretty interesting territory today.
Yeah, we have.
We've talked about the whole idea of originality,
Mm-hmm.
the impact of global trends, and how people can get really passionate about their comedy.
And I think what's really interesting is that there are no easy answers here.
No.
It's a complex issue with a lot of different perspectives.
All right, so as a final thought for our listeners,
Yeah.
if you were creating a show,
Mm-hmm.
how would you ensure originality while also drawing inspiration from the things that you love?
That is the million-dollar question.
It is.
It's a challenge that every creative person faces in this interconnected world.
Absolutely, and I think it's something worth thinking about.
I agree.
Okay, you ever get that feeling online like you're watching something and you're like, oh, this is going to blow up?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
This is exactly how I felt about Samayraina's India's Got Latent.
India's got late. Oh, yeah.
So for those of you who maybe aren't super familiar with like the internet comedy scene in India,
Right.
Samayraina is a very popular comedian, YouTuber, chess streamer.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of put together this show that was meant to be like unearthing India's next, like,
Big comedic talent.
yeah, exactly, like raw talent, right?
Yeah.
But as we all know now, things went a little sideways with this show.
A little bit. Yeah, I mean,
A little bit sideways.
I think it went more than a little bit sideways.
Yeah, full-blown implosion.
Yeah.
Like the show's off of YouTube now, right? Like fans were freaking out.
It's gone.
And it all really boils down to one moment. And it involved Ranveerallahbadia, another big name in the indie YouTube scene.
Mm-hmm.
And so he poses this question to a contestant.
Yeah.
And it is so wildly inappropriate.
Yeah, and I think for context, too,
Yeah.
Ranveerallahbadia, he's not a comedian.
Right.
So he's not really known for
Right.
having this, like, dark or, like, edgy sense of humor.
So it just came out of left field.
Totally.
And so the question, I'm just going to quote it here.
Oh, God.
He said, would you rather watch your parents have sex every day for the rest of your life or join in once to make it stop forever?
Oh, my God.
I mean, like, what do you even
say to that?
What do you even go from there?
What do you do with that information?
Yeah, and of course, like, a ton of backlash.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Immediate backlash. And
affairs filed
multiple affairs.
against Ranveer, against Samay.
Other comedians on the panel.
Other comedians on the panel, and Samay, he just went silent.
Yeah, he kind of disappeared for a little while.
He took down all the episodes.
Yeah, he scrubbed them,
Yeah.
like, from his channel.
Yeah.
Silent on social media, like he kind of went dark.
Yeah, I remember when it happened, I was just like, what is going on?
I know. And I remember thinking, like, okay, this is serious.
Yeah.
Like, this is not just like a little whoopsie.
Right.
Like, this is like a real...
This is a big deal.
Yeah. What was your take on that? Like, was that a strategic retreat or was that genuine distress?
Oh, I think a little bit of both.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, like, when something like that happens, you need to protect yourself.
Yeah.
You need to, like, lay low, let things cool down.
Right.
But I think also he was genuinely shocked at the reaction.
Yeah, I mean...
You know, he's a comedian. He pushes boundaries. But, like, even for his fans, that was too far.
And speaking of his fans, they were...
Oh, they were freaking out.
Freaking out.
Reddit threads exploding, YouTube comments. Just like, where is he? What's happening?
I know. I remember that one comment that was just like, I hope he's okay.
Yeah, like genuinely concerned.
Yeah.
It just shows the connection he has with his audience.
Totally.
It's really fascinating.
And then weeks of radio silence. He finally posts a members-only post on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Just like a heart emoji.
Yeah, just like a little...
And like thousands of comments and like...
Yeah, everybody was so relieved.
I know.
He's back.
I know. And then he came back on stage in Canada.
In Canada.
And, you know, he addressed it.
Yeah, he didn't shy away from it.
He didn't shy away from it at all.
Which I think was good.
He was like, thanks for paying my lawyer's fees.
Classic Samayraina.
Like, immediately, like, just turning it around, right?
Yeah, owning it.
Yeah. Do you think that was like a calculated move?
I mean, part of it had to be, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to know your audience. You have to know what they're expecting.
Yeah.
But also, I think part of it is just him.
Right.
Like, he's just...
Like, this is just him.
Yeah, he's just like that.
Yeah. It's a fine line to walk, though, right?
It is.
Because it is a very serious,
It is serious.
situation.
Yeah.
But he's using humor to address it.
Right. And I think that's what a lot of comedians do. They
Right.
take these difficult topics.
Right.
And they try to find the humor in it.
Right.
But you have to be careful.
You have to be so careful.
Yeah, because you can very easily offend people.
Right. And do you think this whole incident is going to have a lasting impact
I think so.
on the Indian online comedy scene?
I think it's already having an impact.
Right.
Like, people are more aware now of the things they say.
Right.
And the potential consequences.
Right. It's not just about one bad joke, right?
No, it's bigger than that.
It's about like...
It's about the power dynamics.
Right.
It's about who has a voice and who gets to be heard.
And responsibility.
Yeah, the responsibility that comes with having a platform.
Yeah, and this is something that is just constantly evolving.
Absolutely. This is a conversation that's not going away.
Right. And we're not going to pretend to have the answers here.
No, we're just trying to make sense of it.
Along with everyone else.
Yeah, this whole situation is so interesting because I feel like it really highlights
It highlights a lot of the issue.
the tension. Yeah, the tension between what's acceptable and what's not.
Right. And like, who decides that, right?
Exactly. And how do you navigate that?
Especially in like a digital age.
Where everything is amplified.
Where things can go viral so quickly.
Yeah, you make one mistake and it's everywhere.
I mean, this deep dive has definitely given us a lot to think about.
A lot to think about, a lot to discuss.
This isn't just about one bad joke.
No.
It's so much bigger than that.
It's about the future of comedy.
It's about
freedom of speech.
Yeah, and how we consume media.
Absolutely.
And like what we expect from our entertainers.
And the power of the internet.
Yeah, it's all connected.
It all ties together.
It's a lot. And we're not going to pretend to have all the answers.
No, but we're asking the questions.
And that's a good place to start.
And hopefully it'll make people think.
Right, because at the end of the day, that's really what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, just get people thinking critically.
Right, and engaging with these topics.
And having these conversations.
Right, and coming to their own conclusions.
Exactly.
So that's it for today's deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
We want you found it insightful.
And thought-provoking.
And as always, keep those critical thinking caps on as you navigate the wild world of the internet.
We'll see you next time.
Well, that's our deep dive for today.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.